Day 4 of SEC Media Days, live from Atlanta, Georgia. And inside the press box, Mike Grace from the MGL Production Studios, ready for hour number 2 on this Thursday. My partner Mike Mote over on the Douglasville, Georgia side of the Atlanta Metro. And smack dab in the middle of it is our friend, again, Colin, Lacy, and Brent Osborne hanging out at the College Football Hall of Fame all week long. And as we start hour number 2 today, we get a chance to speak with a very important guy. He's got us 44 days away from kickoff there in Atlanta, and all of our affiliate partners all across the Southeast. You're all within driving distance, guys, where you can be here for kickoff weekend. Again, a member of the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame is going to join us. Colin, Lacy, take it away, sir.
Yeah, catching up with Gary Stokan, the CEO and president of the Chick-FIl-A Peach Bowl. And when you look at this event, there's a lot of the bowl games and the college football playoff games that it's the game. That couldn't be farther from the truth for the Chick-FIl-A Peach Bowl, rather. Talk about everything that kind of goes into the organization and everything that you guys are able to touch.
Well, first off, I just want to compliment you. This is the highest tech group I've been with all week, and I've done every Radio Row show here and TV show. So, congrats and compliments. Appreciate you guys having us. Yeah, we're excited. I've got the best staff in the bowl business, and you need that to put on 2 games basically within 24 hours, with a 12 o'clock game with Tennessee Syracuse, and then 3 o'clock on Sunday, August 31st, with Virginia Tech, South Carolina. But you know, it's great working with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. And we're very blessed to have a great city that gets college football, sponsor-wise, board-wise, volunteer-wise, fan-wise. So a lot of people say we're the capital of college football, and one of the reasons is we're sitting in the only college football Hall of Fame in America, and having 2 AFLAC kickoff games, and then having the semifinal this year in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
And talking about the kickoff games, just curious, just as a fan as well, what's the process look like going into those games on, like, how you guys choose the teams? You know, do teams put in bids? What's that process like?
Well, it's a Rubik's Cube.
I'm sure.
It's a lot of dialogue, a lot of conversations with coaches and ADs. You know, we put on the Peach Bowl, Southern Company Peach Bowl Challenge golf tournament out at the Ritz at Lake Oconee, and I invite all the coaches in, and we have a lot of sit-downs with them, find out who they want to play, who they don't want to play. Mm-hmm. We come to media days, we go to spring meetings and talk to ADs, and it's really just putting together who will play who and who has an opening when. And sometimes you got to be 5 years out, sometimes it just comes within a year. So we've been very blessed to do it for 18 straight years, and this year, I guess this is the 3rd out of 5 years we've had 2 games.
And I know me from experience, sorry, Mote, for a second, but I got to attend the Georgia-Oregon kickoff game. Was that 2 or 3 years ago? And, I mean, everything was first class from as soon as we walked in.
Thank you.
It was a great experience. I had never gotten to do that before, and so that was just a great experience as a fan to experience that.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because we created this because in 2006 we tried to get into the BCS when they went to a championship game. And the existing bowls, the Rose, the Sugar, the Orange, and the Fiesta, talked the commissioners into double host model, where they would host their game, and then 2 weeks later they'd host the national championship on a rotational basis. And that year, the NCAA presidents legislated a 12th game on the schedule. So I'm competitive. We didn't win the bid to get in, and so I went to my board, and I said, look, if they're not going to put us in the BCS on the backside, we're going to start the BCS on the front side of the season. And so I went to Terry Don Phillips, the AD at Clemson, who was a friend, and they were going to be top 10 with Spiller in that group. And then I went to Nick Saban, who was a friend over at Alabama in his second year, and we put together Clemson, Alabama, and, to your point earlier, just conversations and friendships and relationships, and we're off and running 18 years later.
One of the better games of the year, too, just because it is the kickoff. People really anticipate it. And Gary, I think that's one of the things that makes your game stand out, is not only is it a really competitive game, but you're paying attention to the people that are going to come to the games. And so you're trying to keep it in this region with ACC and SEC primarily. Every once in a while you may slip and do something different, but it's primarily those 2 leagues. It's the same case this year with your matchups. You've got Tennessee and Syracuse. You're getting the folks from New York to maybe come down for a late summer getaway. And then South Carolina, a team that really has a great fan base, who will be in this thing on Sunday. And talk about just the making the selections. Do you decide ahead of time, hey, I want to get this team, or do I want to try to get this team in a particular year period? What goes into your decisions on who you target as a team to bring in?
Yeah, you hit on a couple great points there. Number one is we do really look out for the fan experience. This past year, the bowl season, which is comprised of all 42 bowl games, I think, they give 4 awards away, and we won the Community Engagement Award this year. Last year, we won the Fan Experience Award, and so whether it's our team walks with both teams walking into Mercedes-Benz, so the fans can really get excited about that and see the teams and as they walk in, similar to what they do on college campuses. Secondly, is having tailgate town with, we'll have SEC Network out there and all kind of activities and activations where fans can, really get into the game before they get into the game. That was one of your questions. The other one was, in talking to John Wildhack, who's a friend, about relationships. He was at ESPN for a long time. We had done a lot of contracts when we were the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl with ESPN. And so John got the AD job at Syracuse, and we started to talk. Ray Tanner and I went to school at North Carolina State. He played baseball. I played basketball. He coached baseball after graduating. I coached basketball. So we had a friendship, and we've been talking a long time and trying to get South Carolina scheduled. So, it's a lot about relationships. I've been in sports for 47 years and been in this job for 27 years. So, you build a lot of relationships, have a lot of good conversations, and because we've done such a good job, people hear about it and they want to play in this game. Because this game is really a differentiation point for the CFP selection committee. I go back to 2017 when we had the GOAT game. I call it the greatest opener all time with Alabama number 1, Florida State number 3. Alabama wins the game, does not win the SEC that year, but because they beat Florida State number 3 in their non-conference, the selection committee put them in at number 4 in a 14 playoff, and they went on to win the national championship. So this game has not only changed the face of college football scheduling on the front side of the season, because now you got Ohio State playing Texas, and you got LSU playing Clemson, and all these big games now, including our 2 games. But the CFP really looks at this as a differentiation point when they start making decisions. So it's had a huge impact on college football.
Catching up with President and CEO for the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and Gary Stokan. And Gary, one of the things that you mentioned a few minutes ago, missing out on the BCS, but when you get into the college football playoff and everything that goes along with implementing what we know the college football playoff today, what was that process like of getting the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in the college football playoff? And then what was kind of the reaction from you guys that you realized, hey, we're in this?
Yeah, it's been as I say, you got to enjoy the journey, right? Because God doesn't promise you another second, minute, hour, a day on this earth. So you got to enjoy what you're doing every day and who you're with, and enjoy this moment. So, I had a strategy. I use an acronym, an old coach, so it's ROCKS. You got to have guts to do things, and ROCKS is relationships, build great relationships. O is opportunity. You got to look for opportunities. C, you got to be really competitive, and S, you got to be strategic. And so I use that philosophy in looking at things. And when I was president of Atlanta Sports Council and president of the Peach Bowl, we, as a sports council, coming off the Olympics in '96, when I took the job in '98, I said, we're going to make Atlanta the capital of sports capital of the world. So we went after Final Fours, Super Bowls, Women's Final Four, NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball All-Star games, and then the coup de grace was WrestleMania, right? So we went after all those things, got them, brought them to Atlanta. And then as I looked at the Peach Bowl in college football, I said, why don't we become the capital of college football? So I'd gone in 2002 to South Bend to see the induction ceremonies of the Hall of Fame. And I went through the Hall of Fame, and it's very antiquated in South Bend. They were only doing about 60,000 people a year. And I said, man, if we had this in Atlanta, this would be huge. And so I started then, and in 2010, I created Atlanta Hall Management, and as CEO signed the 30-year license with the National Football Foundation to move the College Football Hall of Fame to Atlanta. And so it took that long a time to do it. But that, along with the kickoff game, I think the commissioners looked at what we were doing and said, hey, these guys are giving back to college football. We had sold out 18 straight years of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl with the ACC-SEC matchup, and they gave us the opportunity to move into the CFP. And, you know, just recently CBS rated all the CFP games, and our Alabama-Georgia game in 17, the national championship, our Arizona State-Texas game, double overtime this past year, and our Ohio State-Georgia semifinal were 3 of the top 5 CFP games in CFP history so far. So it's been a great run. We're very blessed. I've just taken the ingredients of all the things that Atlanta has and just put them in a recipe to hopefully, you know, have an impact on college football.
And, you know, talking about the playoffs just a little bit, how difficult is it for you and your team, or do you guys kind of have everything already set up, but how difficult is it to kind of get everything ready there in Mercedes-Benz and everything with not knowing who the teams are going to be until kind of last minute, the last couple weeks? And I know you guys do a great job with signage and having teams' logos and having everything set up, but how difficult is it for you and your team to kind of get everything ready, kind of on the fly, not knowing who the teams are going to be?
You know, it's going to be the most unique challenge we've had probably in my 27 years because typically we'll know our teams. And we're not going to know our teams until a week out.
Yep.
So it's going to be very difficult. And so we got to be prepared in a lot of ways. We've had meetings. Matter of fact, I'm on a call at 2 o'clock today with the CFP with my staff and their staff. So, yeah, it's going to be quite a challenge. We're going to have to react quickly. We're going to have to be pre-prepared for a lot of different ways to go, but we'll get it done for sure.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, Gary, it's part of the learning experience that anything that is a breathing, evolving type of industry like sports and live sports in particular is. You learn something every year that maybe you
Right.
carry with you to do anything new, whether it be a different type of game, 2 games instead of 1 on the same weekend, like you're going to do to open the year. I bet all of this stuff is really cool because you get to learn something regardless of what you're doing.
No, it's a great point about life in general is you've got to be always in continual improvement. And I call it the good, better, best. We go back on campus to meet with the schools that playing our bowl game every year, and we do a good, better, best. Whatever we did good, we want to do better. Whatever we did better, we want to do the best. And so the only way you can find that out is talking to your clients and your customers. And so we meet from players to equipment managers to ADs to presidents to coaches and sit and go through the whole process. And we've been doing that every year, and that's how we've gotten better, just being continual improvement all the time with what you're doing.
Gary, we got to get you out of here. I've had a 25-year association with the bowl game down in Mobile, Alabama, and I've seen firsthand the lives they've impacted through their work and the money they've raised for charitable organizations in that community. You do the same thing with this game. The Kickoff for a Cause is huge in what you guys have been able to do in the fight against childhood cancer.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you bringing that up. You know, we were founded as the 9th oldest bowl game back in 1968, and but the first bowl game founded for charity. And we've maintained that as part of our mission, being the most charitable bowl organization out of all 42 bowls. We've given $65.8 million back to charity since 2002, and by far makes us number 1. But it's something that's near and dear to our heart. You know, we're using college football for the greater good in our community of Atlanta and the state of Georgia, as well as all the communities that play in our golf tournament, the coaches, their foundations, or the schools that play in our game with endowed scholarships. So appreciate you bringing that up. And I know Jerry Silverstein and Mike Gottfried and Danny Sheridan down there in Mobile, they're good friends. And I'll tell you a quick story, and then I know you guys got to go. You're more important people to talk to than me. But I sat on a plane with Mike Gottfried after we were at a game. He had broadcast and I had scouted the game. And he said, you know, I want to start a game in Mobile. I want to start a bowl game. And so we talked on the plane, and he had 3 pages, yellow pages of notes. And out of that, he started the game down there in Mobile. And Mike's just one of the best people I've ever met in college football.
Gary,
Amen.
really appreciate what you do for not only the city of Atlanta, but the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and college football. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks so much for having us. Come see us.
Once again, Gary
Take
Stokan,
care.
the president and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And, boys, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that.
Well, and look, I know there's been all kind of talk about the bowl system and its future in the current playoff setup and all that kind of jazz. And I can just tell you, and obviously the Peach Bowl is a part of that, and hopefully will stay that way. But for the smaller bowls, like the Mobile Bowl, I'm telling you guys, it means a ton to the community.
Yep.
It means a ton to the schools that take part. I'm telling you, when an Ohio comes down from the MAC and plays, when Southern Miss comes over from Hattiesburg and plays, we've just seen some fantastic action. We've had the highest scoring game ever, the biggest blowout ever, from Byron Leftwich to Ben Roethlisberger to
Damian Tomlinson.
Yeah, you betcha. Yeah, just terrific players, and I'm just because of that, I'm a huge proponent of the bowl system and hope that we can keep it healthy. Yeah,
I think we will for a while, because I think as long as there's a place for it in television, and there is that particular week of the year, as you're looking at, the 2 weeks at the end of the month of December, TV needs content.
Yep.
And bowl games serve that need, and people are on vacation. They want something to watch. People may want to go make a trip or something like that and have something to do. I know people that get together and do it when they can. They'll do the Alabama bowl trip. They'll do all of them because there's several to do now.
Yep.
I think it's a great thing. Maybe it don't mean anything to everybody. Maybe they this doesn't mean that. Well, it means something to the communities, like you said.
Yeah.
And so I think as long as there's a place for it on television, it'll be there. I think it'll always be there.
Well, and I think too,
Some capacity, anyways.
Yeah, I think too, going back to what we talked about with Gary of the impact that these games have in the community. And Mike, you and I have talked about it a lot with what is now the 68 Venture, or with the 68 Ventures Bowl in Mobile. That they make a huge impact in that Mobile community, not just on game day, but being able to give back to the community throughout the year. And I think the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl has made that a huge part of their mission, that this isn't just a bowl game, which they very easily could say, look, this is a bowl game. We're in the college football playoff. Everybody else can get lost. But they have made a huge impact with the Athletic Kickoff game, with numerous charities that they impact throughout the Atlanta metro area community, but also just giving back to football. And you heard the passion that Gary Stokan has with what he is able to do and what he and his staff, and Brent talked about it. That's a first-class game from any way you look at it, from covering it as a media member, from covering it on the outside looking in, or coming to it as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we went to the Georgia-Oregon game a couple years ago for that kickoff, and it was something I had never experienced before. Hadn't really ever gotten to go to the Mercedes-Benz, so that was my first Mercedes-Benz stadium experience, so that was really, really neat. And they did a really, really good job, a bunch of fan experience stuff that you get to do there, and so they did a really good job, so I did want to point that out.
44 days until Syracuse and Tennessee on August 30th. Followed by Virginia Tech and South Carolina on August 31st. Going to be a fantastic year for the AFLAC kickoff games held at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, and again run by the Peach Bowl, Inc. and their president and crew, Gary Stokan, joining us here inside the press box, live from SEC Football Media Days, Atlanta, Georgia is where we are. We'll head back there with Colin and Brent, and more with Mike and Mike inside the press box after a timeout on great stations around the Southeast and online, PressBoxRadio.com and YouTube.com/PressBoxRadio.